A listener production.
Welcome back, sports fans, to episode 141 of the Howie Games Part B, featuring a man whose soon-to-be-released book, Drive of a Lifetime, can be ordered right now, Jamie Whincup. Let's hit it. 2008, you do win your first title, and then you go on an incredible streak. 2009, you won. 2010, you come second. You just continue to win, and that's where you bank up 7 and become, as we spoke about, the GOAT at the start. What does a first title mean for you back in 2008, Jamie?
His mission was to wrap it up today so they could have fun tomorrow. Well, right now, let the party begin for Jamie Whincup because he's the champion. And he celebrates with a big slide across the line here at Oran Park.
And it's cool that, the V8 Supercar coverage, whether it's been at 10 over the years or 7 of more recent times, is outstanding. And I love the immediacy of it. Like when you win the title, straight away the commentators can talk to you. You don't get that in other sports. And I think your comment was, this is a big, big deal. And it was as close to emotional as I've heard you in a car at that point, I reckon. Because as we've spoke about throughout the whole thing, mate, you're pretty low-key typically.
The moment Jamie Whincup has finally arrived. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you, boys. Big day. Big day. We did it. Got over the line. It's amazing.
What are the emotions like right now? Is it relief? Is it excitement?
It's a bit of everything at the moment. So relieved, but this is a big, big deal. I'm just so proud of everyone involved.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was a huge deal. I didn't know leading up to it. I hadn't thought about winning the championship. I was just trying to make sure that I got the points and did the job. And then once I crossed the line to know that the championship was mine, all of a sudden you just start reflecting on almost your whole life. So it was certainly your life from when I was 7 years old in that first go-kart. It's almost like an end of a chapter there where you've just gone grow, and then you get to this, you hit this milestone, and it's, of course, it was probably the second, that was another one of the 12 times that there was plenty of emotion there because there was a lot of grinding. And it's hard work and grinding and sacrifice, but it's not. You want to do it, You want to do the hard yards. You want to work hard to achieve a big goal. But once you get there, boom! You get this whole vision of from 7 years, the last 20, 15 years or so of your life just hit you in the face, and it was huge. And I knew how much it meant to my teammates, to my family as well. So it's always nice doing good things for all the close people around you.
And from your point of view, and you mentioned very graciously at the start that you sometimes feel a bit weird up on the podium because it is a team sport, but it's the driver that gets lifted up when the team wins and it's the driver that gets put in the corner when the team loses. Let's be honest about that.
Yep.
In your view, Jamie, equipment aside, team aside, what has led you to be able to win 7 titles?
And here comes the man who has now joined the greats. 3-time V8 Supercar champion, Jamie Whincup.
What led you to be able to go on such a run where you were dominant, like we're seeing Hamilton up to this year, and we saw Schumacher, and we hadn't seen it in V8, sort of Scaife dominated with 5, but not the dominance you were pulling out. What's it take?
5 championships. He now sits up there with the greats.
It comes back to just that constant grind and just trying to get better, just that belief and getting up the next day, putting the feet on the ground and how can I go better, and getting as many people on that journey as you possibly can, certainly within the team. You have to have your partner, family's got to be on board, friends have got to be on board as well, and then of course you've got that huge team of people that you need. This is a big journey that we're going on, and we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep rocking up every year, and just no matter what it takes, no matter what's thrown at us from our opposition, we're going to go one better. It doesn't matter what they bring to us. It doesn't matter if we're at 10 o'clock every night. 7 days a week for 4 months. It doesn't matter. You know, whatever it takes, we're going to find the way to win, and we're going to get there. And that's what we did for a long period of time.
And now to announce our 2014 V8 Supercars champion. From Red Bull Racing Australia, please congratulate the 2014 V8 Supercars champion, Jamie Whincup.
That is such an outstanding achievement, and we get to see this man continue on for the next few years and see just how far he can go, Scafie.
Oh, look, he's an absolute legend of the sport at this point with 6 championship wins. From
07 all the way through. Pretty much to now, we've just kept going, and it's hard to win one, you know, and it's hard to win two, but to go on a 10-year run, and we haven't won every year in 10 years, but we've just ground it out as hard as we possibly can, with that being absolutely the main focus in our life first and foremost. And it's been an awesome thing to experience it with my teammates, and we've all been on the journey together. As you say, I've been the one to stand on the top step of the podium, but there's been dozens of people behind the scenes that have been on the journey with me.
How draining is it to be relentless? How draining is it to not get out of bed one day and just say, you know what, I'm not going to train today, or I'm not going to go down to the factory? Like after 4 or 5 or 6, the temptation must be to just, I'm just going to rest on my laurels a bit.
Wow! Jamie Whincup is champion. Jamie Whincup has won his 7th title after a penalty for Scott McLaughlin. He's the champion. He is the champion for 2017. That is extraordinary.
Is that a joke, or are you serious? It's a bad joke if it is.
It's a bad joke if it is.
We are the champions, mate. You are champions.
Yeah, that's by far the biggest challenge, just to keep going. And you can't do the same as what you did the year before, because you get gobbled up by your opposition. You have to step up. You have to go again and again and again and again. So that's been the challenge, but I've certainly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the ride. It's been tough, and I guess you don't pay you pay for it one way, shape or form. If you put nitrous in your fuel tank, the thing goes like a rocket, you know. But the engine, there's a little bit more wear and tear on the engine. It's not going to do 100,000 Ks if you put normal fuel in and just cruised along at half throttle, it'll do 200,000 Ks, you know. But how do you want to live your life? Do you want to put the nitrous in and go hard till you're 65, or do you just want to go half throttle and try to get to 100? You know, that's up to you to how much throttle you want to run and how long you want to live your life. But so we were for 10 years there. We were hard on the throttle and just pushing hard. It's not for free. I'm not kidding myself. It's not for free, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
What's the cost?
Well, the cost is long. Yeah, there'll be some cost somewhere down the track. You know, maybe I won't live as long as I probably would like. Maybe I won't have the capacity to keep punching hard in my 60s, 70s. You know,
right?
But that's it's all a balance. You know, it's not for free. You don't just go hard and just work flat out every day for 10, 20 years and expect to get away with it. You don't get away with it. But as I say, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's strategic, and go hard when you're young, and enjoy the easy life when you get a little bit older.
Again, because we've established that you are a very private person, so I'm a little bit wary about asking you this question. So you answer it as you do. You dealt with it in your book, but your passing of your father, Jamie, how much impact did that have on you? Because this was a man that was with you on your journey, not just as a father, but as someone that took you into your sport.
Yeah, that's the heaviest thing I've had to deal with, no doubt. Because Dad wasn't. He was Dad. He was my father, but he was my best mate at the same time as well. Like we would leave probably on a Thursday night to a go-kart race. Thursday night, I'd have the go-kart ready to go, packed in the trailer. All the sprockets were clean. We were ready to go. Everything was perfect. Dad had to I pulled the trailer on, hooked it onto the back of the four-wheel drive, and then off we go Thursday night. And we spent at least 40 weeks of the year go-karting, and we were together from Thursday night to Sunday night, and we lived the journey, you know. We would have the biggest blues of all time. We'd share the wins, we'd share the heartache, and we were a combo, and he was my best mate. We'd hang out, and he was my biggest critic. He was my biggest fan at the same time. So, yeah, it was heavy. And he'd been there from the start all the way through. He was at the last race in 2011, and then didn't quite make it to the first race in 2012. So there was losing your father plus losing your best mate all mixed into one. It was by far the toughest thing I've done. And the only thing I can do from here on in is just remind my mates and friends that when they are having a bit of a blue with their mother and father, you know, they're getting under their nerves, or, you know, they're just, I can't be bothered going and spending time with them. You know, they annoy me. I'm just like, hey, cherish the time you've got with your parents, because they're not around forever.
It's really good advice, mate. As you mentioned, your dad passed away just prior to the 2012 season. So I think it's a week later you have to get in the car at Clipsal. You go and win that race. I don't know where that sits in the wins you've had in your own mind. You can tell me, but how do you segregate what you're doing from the grief you're feeling for the father, yet you've got to go and do your job?
Yeah, I had a job to do, and if it was just me as an athlete doing the job, then it'd be a different scenario. Too, I've got a team of 50 people, and we were all going to Adelaide 500, and they expect me to do the job. They've built this car over months of hard work and preparation. We've built and designed this car and taken it to the track. It's my job to showcase what that car can do. That's no more, no less. Just you get the most out of that car and showcase what we've been doing. So I went into the zone of I need to go and do my job for my teammates, and that's exactly what I did. There was no time to be selfish and let my personal life affect what I need to do that weekend.
But you've got to applaud this man who's put together one of the most perfect efforts you'll ever see in claim victory in the season opener.
That's a very black and white answer, though. Like, I know that's you, and I know that the fact you've been trying to dynamically engineer the best pram for your youngster when it's coming. But that's one thing to say, but it's not the easiest thing to do. I wouldn't have imagined. Like you've brushed over that in a way, mate. Yeah. But that's that was my mentality. I had to adjust my mentality to go. I need to get the job done this weekend. It was tough. Unfortunately for me, there was a minute's silence for the passing. I'm not 100% sure who it was. We had a minute silence before the race. So unfortunately, that gave me an opportunity to reflect on Dad passing and what I was going through. So that wasn't ideal. That was quite tough. But I just had to get myself back into, hang on, I'm here to do a job. And of course, when, and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, when a friend or a family member passes away, in some way the first 2 weeks isn't as tough as the weeks following, you know, because it's still all about them. It's still fresh. You're still spending most of the time talking about Dad, and it was like he was still there. We were planning his funeral, and it was all about him, you know. So that wasn't tough. It was almost we had a job to do. But then it's the times when Dad hasn't been around for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's when it really starts to get painful. Plus any major event, birthdays, Christmas time, Easter, all those major events after that, that's when it's really tough. And I'm not pioneering here, but I'm sure everyone can relate to it, that the toughness isn't straight away, it's afterwards. So I was able to get through that Clipsal 500 just focusing on the job and putting it in the back of my mind to some degree. It's 2012. We mentioned those first 3 Bathurst wins. It's a team and Lowndes in the car at the end. 2012, you're in the car at the end and you got Dave Reynolds up your bloody exhaust pipe and you're running out of fuel. I was looking back at the highlights and they're saying, the mechanics are screaming to you, big conserve, like save your fuel.
Do a big conserve this one, mate.
So big conserve, the word from Mark Dutton, and at the same time James Small saying they're conserving, mate. Get him.
Now, describe what it is like when you are trying to win Bathurst in the car over the closing stages and the race is right hot. And that's been the great thing about Bathurst for the last 15 years. It has become a sprint. There's no more of that lap or two wins or half a lap. Don't miss that last hour because it's red hot motor racing. It's great credit to the sport and everybody involved because it's must-watch TV.
Yeah. So it's hard not to get frustrated because there's a huge balancing act going on. So the team have a massive focus on we need to finish the race on petrol. That's absolutely at the top of their list. We need to manage this to make sure that we get to the end of the race and not run out of petrol. So every 100% of the radio call is just conserve fuel, get to the end on fuel. But in the car, you've got the fuel, you've got that issue going on. You've got that I need to make sure I conserve fuel. But inside the car, that's not the highest priority. It probably is the highest priority, but there are two or three other things that are exactly the same. You've got to still be competitive. You still got to punch out lap after lap at almost qualifying pace to keep the guy behind you.
So to get close enough, that's the job for Reynolds to try and make a move. We've already seen him pull off an almightily gutsy move down here at the chase. If he can get close enough, no question he'll take another dive.
We know that he's been largely bulletproof under these pressure situations, Jamie Whincup, but he's really got a battle on his hands at the moment because there's no question that there's some pace in that car of David's.
You need to make sure you don't burn your tyres up. If you push too hard over the top, you just smoke your tyres up, and then old mate's going to get past as well. So you're juggling tyres, you're juggling keeping old mate behind you, you're juggling your own fitness as well, trying to make sure that you breathe down the straights and make sure that you'll absolutely get pinpointing every single lap.
They tippy-toe around Murray's corner.
Jamie's got nothing left under brakes into the last corner. So Davey is right under him. It was a 2:10.9 for Whincup, a 2:10.8 for Reynolds. There's 0.3 of a second in it.
Plus, you've got the fuel to consider also, So you've got all these balls in the air and the team are just focusing on this fuel, and you're like, guys, I've got a little bit fuel. I've got a little bit of fuel in the tank. Can you help me out here and saving petrol? Oh, can you help me out here and saving tyres? Can you keep giving me the distance from Davey Reynolds behind? So it's this big balancing act, and you just hope you get it all right. And on that day, we were able to balance the whole thing out, and we got to the line before anyone else.
And how do you deal with the pressure of the bloke in your rearview mirror, and he's pushing and he's pushing and he's pushing?
It depends on the scenario. So there we had pace in the right areas of the track that day, So while Davey was as you say on our exhaust pipe and he was fast, the big places where you pass at Bathurst, we were actually quite quick just before that. So we weren't in a position where we're really vulnerable. Certainly at the end of the straights and down the bottom of the hill where all the passing was going to be done. So there was a little bit of comfort there. Of course, you still could have lunged. You had to still make sure that you're far enough ahead that he didn't take a big lunge over the top of the hill.
He's got to come off the dipper. This is the spot. Got to get round the left and now tuck in hard to the right and get off here. No, still not good enough. He just drops a car length. He's got to be closer.
And of course, it was conserved fuel. But if Dave's on me coming into the chase because I've conserved fuel down the main straight, then he's going to pass me. Of course, he's going to pass me. So I need to get down this straight fast, but I need to conserve fuel in the right areas. It was a big juggling act, but yeah, as I say, we got there.
What has Reynolds got left in the tank? Has he got enough? Is he close enough to make a move on our championship leader for the second year in a row? This goes right down to the final turn.
They're both brilliant. Big slide for Whincup. He just barely hung on to a thing. They've both done a remarkable job.
Only 7 drivers have won 4 or more Bathurst championships. Today, Jamie Whincup joins the greats. He gets his 4th. Paul Dungrell gets his 1st. And David Reynolds on the podium, a whisker away from victory in a classic 2012 race.
And how do you celebrate a Bathurst win? do you get out on the town, or are you just absolutely cooked? And then you've got to do those sort of 6 a.m. crosses to whether it's Channel 10 have got the coverage or Sunrise if 7 have got it. She's an early kickoff the next day. I've seen a few bleary-eyed operators in the past.
Yeah. So you've had a huge week, a huge day. You're completely spent. And Bathurst most of the time's dead. There's nothing going on. Maybe one of the local establishments will be open till 10 o'clock, but generally it's absolutely dead. And you've got that in the back of your mind. Yeah, there's a 6 o'clock press conference. And I think the best photo we've seen in our sport is Lounsey and Murph still in their race suit, sitting in pit lane for the live cross, literally asleep, waiting for the cameras to roll so they can get up and go, yeah, we won Bathurst and back to bed again, you know. So they did it the best. When you're young, you certainly go out and celebrate it as a team. But me in my older years, late 30s, it's go home, try to recover, make sure you hydrate, and celebrate the weekend after.
Back to Jamie in a tick. No shortage of steerers have been on this little podcast before. From Jack and Larry Perkins on episode 7, Mark Webber. Episode 29, James Courtney. Episode 34, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, before he was a Sir, back when he was just Lewis, on episode 48, to Lounsey on episode 55, Scotty McLaughlin on episode 78 and 126, and Danny Rick on episode 90. We have got petrol heads well and truly covered on this show. Now, a man that has some cracking racing stories and broadcasting stories as well on episode 93 is F1 legend Martin Brundle. This is a man that for many years sat in the same booth with the late, great Murray Walker.
And he was like, I can't tell you anything about Formula One, Martin. I said, come on, Murray. Yeah, yes, you can. He said, I'll tell you one thing. Just remember, we are only here to inform and entertain, nothing more. And I remembered that ever since. And I joined Murray in the commentary, and I'd have my hand on his shoulder, and if I wanted to say something, I'd squeeze a bit harder. Then I'd get my fingernails underneath his tendons and squeeze really hard. Then he might stop talking. He was so enthusiastic. I'm absolutely convinced if I'd have crept out the back of the commentary box, he would never have noticed until after the race had finished. He was so on it.
That is Martin Brundle on episode 93. Let's get back to Jamie. So that's when it goes well, mate. In more recent times, Bathurst is tough to anyone. Everyone that's won it has had problems. You mentioned the fuel. Famously, 2014, there's a debate between you and your team about fuel, which you described really, really, really well in the book. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know.
Fuel at this stage, we're not going to make it. I need you maximum save. You've got 2 seconds to go behind. Maximum save, mate. We're not going to make it. We're just going to have to chance it.
They'll have very accurate fuel burn data. They'll know exactly what they're looking at Red Bull. They don't leave anything on the table. He's in trouble.
What happens when you make a call and... your man Roland Dane, who used to scare me when I was in the V8 category, he was quoted post saying, Jamie has won a few races over the time, but this one he lost for us. And that's Roland. It's a brutal quote. How do you go back and face the team when you've let them down?
Yeah. You know, that's brutal. For a teammate to say that, hey, you've let the team down. That hurt. That cuts. You know, that's a knife. That's a knife in the heart and twisted all at the same time. There's so many. You have to. Of course, you got to work together as a team. But anyone in any team, you have to take initiative at times, you know. And if you believe a mistake's about to happen, then it's irresponsible. You're not being a team player if you don't react to it and try to make amends for it. So, of course, like exactly the same as 2012, exactly the same as 30 other races before that, it was about fuel. You know what I mean? And of course, once again, it was the highest priority for the team to make sure we finished the race on fuel. I was trying to juggle it all. I was trying to juggle the tyres and everything else up at the same time. So I did the best job I possibly could. I'm not sure if the telecast I'm not sure if they were getting my radio messages.
You don't conserve maximum. We're talking maximum minus 100.
I don't think he can hear them. I'm sure there must be something wrong. Is his earpiece out? Paul Dumbrell can't believe it. This has continued to escalate. Whincup has been told over and over and over again, back off.
And the protocol always with Jamie Whincup is he always goes back and says copy. He hasn't said copy at all. I'm not sure whether they can hear at all on this.
Fuel for one lap and you've got a lap and a half to do. Copy that.
Focus on his earpieces. They are plugged in. I can see he's plugged in.
He copied then. He pressed the button, the radio button. He said copy. Mark Dutton just said, you've got 1.5 laps to go. You've only got 1 lap of fuel left. Copy. And he went bang on the radio. He understood the message.
It came across on the day that I actually wasn't listening to the team. I'd almost pulled my radio out and I wasn't listening to the team and I wasn't working at one. That wasn't the case. I'm not sure if the telecast weren't getting the radio, or they were choosing not to get get the radio to make the story better. But we were working as one that day, and we were on track to finish that race. And once again, it was another scenario where we were about to steal the race. It wasn't actually ours to win. We started off the back row of the grid from mistakes. We went 2 laps down in the middle of the day. We were going to steal this race from somebody else. It wasn't actually ours to win. But we were giving it absolutely everything we had to steal it. But what had come across on the telecast wasn't what was going on. We were working together, and then we knew the reserve tank. You hit the reserve tank, and once you hit the reserve tank, you've got 2 laps of Bathurst. It's 4 laps around most tracks, but at Bathurst is 2 laps. When that reserve tank hit at 2.5 laps to go, driver and team, we knew then we were in trouble. But before that, we were doing what we usually did, balancing it all up. Yeah, conserve more. You always want to conserve more. You want to conserve more tyres. You want to do everything you can to get a little bit in the bank. But it shocked a lot of us with 2.5 laps to go that, hang on, we're not going to make it on petrol. We're not going to make it flat out anyway on petrol. So that was the first time that we knew we were in big trouble.
He comes away and another whack, and Mostert goes through on the inside. This is huge in Australian motorsport. They've gone berserk at Ford Performance Racing. This kid is going to win this thing today, and so is Paul Morris.
Has not led a lap all day, Croppo. Not led a lap. Chaz Mostert is going to win with Paul Morris. Extraordinary motor race. Something you have never seen before.
So, was it 2020 at Bathurst when you put it into the wall?
Yes, last year, yes.
Oh, that's pretty much the same manoeuvre that Tander tried to put on when Tander got down there, no problem. But does he let Jamie go by? Yes, he does. Oh, no, he doesn't! Whincup has made a massive mistake. They're out. That's over and out for car 888.
Okay, so in that situation, and I only bring this up because, you talked your book is about learning, and that's what this podcast is about, learning. It's not to highlight mistakes because everyone makes mistakes. In that situation, do you apologise to a team, and afterwards do you have that rare ability to go, right, it's done, I just need to look forward, or do you sit at home for a night or two and go, geez, I made a mistake there and it's cost us?
Whincup and Lowndes are out of the race. 129 laps remaining. He will be filthy.
How do you deal with those big failures in a really public situation that Bathurst is, mate?
Yeah, well, I've probably learnt from the Gary Rogers scenario that, if you do make a mistake and end up in the wall, as hard as it is, go back to the team and apologise. Just say, hey, I didn't put in my best performance today. I'm sorry, so sorry. You deserve more, but it is what it is. In the back of the mind, you can't win every race. You can't be at your absolute best. When you expose yourself as much as we do, 14 race, which is there's 25 races a year for 15 years. You're not going to be able to put in your best performance at every single one. If you're putting in more bad performance than good performances, then you need to give yourself an uppercut. But if you're putting in good performance after good performance every now and again, unfortunately, the probability is that you're going to have a bad one every now and again. And unfortunately, I had my bad one in 2020 on the biggest day of the year, which is painful. So go back, apologise. Don't beat yourself up too much at the time, because that's not the right thing to do in the heat of the moment. But I'm a big believer. I hate the saying, there's always next year. You know, for me, that's what the losers say. There's always next year. Yeah, there's always next year. But no, hang on. You had an opportunity, and you're never going. 2020 Bathurst. That's not. You're not getting that back. You're not getting another opportunity. That's gone. You didn't make the most of it. It's never coming back. You've got to live with that. You've got to learn from it, and there'll be another opportunity in 2021, and you just make sure you learn from 2020. But don't worry about it. There's another day. That's, as I said, that's what the losers say.
You've had some incredible experiences. I remember covering the GP, I want to say 2010 probably, when you got to drive, I think it was Vodafone was sponsoring your team, and Button as well. And you jumped in a Formula One car.
Jenson Button is the handsome British Formula One world champion. Jamie Whincup is an Aussie V8 superstar. It made for a gripping intercontinental shootout. Their insurance companies are just glad it wasn't the Ashes.
Is it like me driving my Ute compared to you driving your V8 supercar? Is that different from a V8 supercar to a Formula One car?
Yeah, it's probably like you jumping in a supercar and just going flat out, you know. For me, jumping in a Formula One car, it was the sheer power, the sheer acceleration of and also the grip. The sheer performance of this car just absolutely blows your mind.
How much of it is the car and how much is the driver?
For me, it's a pointless question to answer because nobody knows.
It's also a question Australian V8 supercar champion Jamie Whincup has asked. And today, the racing gods answered. The two drivers got to swap cars for the day. Forget the left-hand clutch and left-foot brake. This is the first time Jamie Whincup has ever so much as sat in a Formula One car.
The only thing I can compare it to is I felt like Coyote on a rocket trying to catch the Roadrunner. You know what I mean? It just absolutely out of control. Your head is just pinned against the headrest. You've got no chance of holding your head off. I tried once. I was like, can I try to get my head off the headrest? You've got no chance. You're absolutely pinned against the headrest, going as hard as you possibly can. And I was in control, of course. In some way, it's one of the easiest cars to drive. It's probably the hardest car to get the most out of.
Yes.
But in some way, it's the easiest car to drive. You have got a steering wheel and you've got a big go pedal and a big stop pedal. There's no clutch. Well, the clutch is behind the steering wheel. But once you're going, it's just go, stop, and turn the thing. So it's actually quite easy to drive. I was just hanging on to this car and just absolutely getting huge thrills out of the little short straights. The second gear corner, you come out of a second gear corner and accelerate second, third, fourth into the next one around the back of the circuit. Just getting massive thrills out of how fast I was getting from one corner to the next. And then of course you come down the straight and I've only ever got 6th gear. So, and you've got this thing in the back of your mind, this little calculator that goes on, and you know exactly, you don't think about it, but you know what gear you're in. And it's in the back of your mind. You know exactly what gear you're in because you automatically count it. But then as soon as I pulled 7th, I was like, my brain just went, well, I don't know where you are at the moment. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where you're at. I don't know how many gears you need to get back to 2nd, you know. So pulled 7th. I was in a new world and went, oh, hang on, back. Look at the dash. Yep, I'm back and forth. Yep, happy days. So, no, it was. I've got this 12-minute movie in my head of 4 laps around Albert Park, which I'll never, ever forget. It was one of the best experiences of my life by far.
It's caused some friction in my house, so I won't tell you who's going for who, but my wife and I are diametrically opposed, and by the time this comes out, there might be another couple of big hammer blows landed. Are you cheering for Hamilton or Verstappen to win the world title?
Oof. I'm obviously cheering for Max to win the title, but
because of the Red Bull connection.
Because of the Red Bull connection, and I'm Australian. Of course, I want the underdog to get up and win. You know, that's just the way we're wired. But I've got massive respect for Hamilton as well. You know, like what he's going for 8. He's going for 8.
Going for 8, yeah.
Going for 8, which is massive. You know, and as I say, his resilience in the sport just to keep going at his age to beat Max. You know, Max, who's absolutely at his peak in a car that's probably quicker than his.
Yep.
If he gets up, how do you not massively respect Hamilton? You know, that would be absolutely huge, and not have massive respect for the guy. But I'm going for Maxie to maximise his car and get out there and do the job.
So I'm all about Hamilton, and my beautiful wife Erica is all about Max. And I can't believe it, but we've had when they've come together a couple of times this season, we've had heated debates, Jamie, about who's at fault. She's lecturing me saying, well, Lewis has turned in early. I'm like, what are you talking about? Max is all over him. Hey, the other thing that I mentioned, the Domino's pizza. The thing that really tickled my fancy, because it just didn't seem you, but geez, you did it well, was the series you did with Lounsey. There's one Backyard to Bathurst where you blokes are just playing sort of bogan punters.
Hey, J-Dub, you seen who's moved in next door?
Oh, those blokes who call themselves V8 drivers? Yeah, I've seen them. Around the backyard like they're 200 points up in the championship. You'd think those blokes would be concentrating on the mountain after the performance they put in last year.
You think we'd struck gold having V8 drivers move in next door? Garage would be full of jet skis and motorbikes and all the toys. Mate, you know, we thought it'd be like neighbourly and all, and we'd look after it when they're away racing, but no, nothing. I've seen more action on a blind chess tournament than what happens over there. What do they do all bloody day?
I'll tell you what they do. Sweet bloody nothing.
I don't know how long they took to film. Filled me with joy, Jamie. Filled me with joy.
Which one are you talking about? We've done a few.
Well,
yeah,
the one where you're on the front porch and there's V8 drivers moved in next door and they're mowing the lawns and stuff, and you blokes are sort of sitting on there and, you know, should we go over and see them? I loved it. I love everything about those.
Yeah, no, Red Bull Creative come up with those scripts, and we really enjoy it. We really enjoy it. We get up in character, and we try to respectfully take the piss out of the other drivers and teams. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not all like sometimes they do take offence to it and use it as motivation. But no, we politely take the piss out of ourselves, and of course other teams as well. I think Lounsey hit a snowman. I think we were having a crack at Frosty when he said he had sun glare. He come out turn one, turned Frosty around. It's not a funny scenario because Frosty was probably going to go on and win that race, and he got turned around.
The old Bombador sounds as bad as it looks.
Oh, come on, bro. This thing's seen as much action as Shane Warne in the 90s, and she's as faithful as a tied-up sheep.
Ha! She might be reliable, but it looks like it's done a set the arvo at Hidden Valley with old mate Frosty.
Nothing like a bit of circle work in the paddock to get the blood pumping, boys.
Oh, yeah. But we tried to make light of the situation with Red Bull Creative. But it's not last. I'm sure there'll be a few more. We'll keep them going for the next few years. That's for sure.
I hope so. When you crash, when you're involved in a big incident, it's the stereotypical question for all motor racing drivers, but they have very, very different views on it. When you've had big crashes, which you've had, how do you go about resetting yourself to get back in the car? Because it is a dangerous job that you do. We were both at the circuit when Mark Porter died at Bathurst. It's never far away. You know, I remember trying to get shots of Chaz over the cyclone fence when he was getting loaded into the helicopter. And I remember when I saw that crash, you know, it's not a nice thing to talk about, but I remember thinking, Jamie, he could be dead. That's the impact of that crash. How do you deal with that side of your sport?
Oh, big moment, a massive moment for one of the Pepsi Max cars. Into the wall, out of business for Chaz Mostert, the reigning champion, has had a monumental crash. This will be a red flag. Mostert has had a terrible accident at the top of the hill.
You have to not think about that's the thing. If you think too hard about the Chazzy scenario and the other major events that have happened in the sport, then you're at risk of slowing yourself down. You know, you've got to be aware. You got to be aware that you've got to be respectful of the race car and the sport we do. You absolutely you cannot disrespect the speeds we're going and the implications, but it can't be front of mind. You know, and in some way you've got to be a little bit naive and just focus on going fast. You know, so the big. I'm lucky enough. I've never been in I've been in a car where I've been a little bit intimidated by the situation when it's wet and your front windscreen is completely fogged up. You can't see where you're going, and there are thoughts of, hey, if a car is spun in front of me here, I don't know what's going to happen. But they're very rare. They're very rare. Most of the time, you're thinking, how can I go a tenth faster? And I've never been in that scenario where I've been, I'm fearing for my life here. But that's unfortunately that's not the same for everyone in every race we've done in our sport, you know. And I think kids potentially have a big impact on that. You know, if you get in a situation where you are thinking of kids or thinking of loved ones, then you are in a bit of trouble. So I've been lucky enough not to have had that scenario. So it's a dark part of our sport. It's a part of every sport as well. There's not many sports in the country that don't have, unlucky incidents where it's turned pear-shaped. But unfortunately, that is part of sport, you know. And I've always said, if the day that the crowd are sitting on the side of the track and everyone says to themselves, I reckon I could do that, that's the day we don't have motorsport, you know. If you sit in the grandstand and watch the cars go through the first chicane at Gold Coast and you think, hey, that's a little bit crazy, that's what makes up our sport, you know. And we need to do absolutely everything we can to make the sport as safe as possible, but at the same time, it can't be completely sterile and you know, a scenario where we're wrapped in bubble wrap and nothing can go wrong ever. You know, therefore we don't have motorsport. So we've got to find that nice balance.
Jamie, you've been so good with your time. I've only got a couple more questions for you. Before I ask you this one, I'm going to tell you a brief story. You are soon to become a team manager. Congratulations, by the way. It's a fantastic step from the race car to running the race team, and obviously a big step. When I first started in the V8 supercars for Channel 10, it was, you know, early 2000s, and it was a bit more wild than it is now. And I was pit lane reporting, and I'm not going to tell you whose garages were the negative, but I'd go into garages and blokes, team managers, would literally tell you to piss off, to F off, to get the F off. What did you think you're asking me questions for, just when you're trying to find your way in the world? And then there was other garages, your former boss, Gary Rogers, Dick Johnson, and a couple of others that were absolutely fantastic, and said, whenever you need any help, you need any information, come in here. And for the next 10 years working on V8 supercars, I did everything I could to put positive spins on what was happening in those garages, because that's human nature. And this is the world you're stepping into, where you're going to be pulled in 1,000 directions. You're going to be running a team. You're going to be looking after people that might have a mortgage to pay, or one of the kids is causing trouble. It's an enormous job you're stepping into. If you've got an initial, let alone dealing with your man Van Gisbergen and the drivers who are the ones that always cause the friction, have you had a general think about how you're going to approach it?
Oh, for sure. It's, as you say, it's a massive responsibility. Like, you're basically I'm considering it as the livelihoods of 50-odd people directly at Triple Eight Race Engineering,
which is a tremendous responsibility, isn't it?
Huge. It's up to me to make sure that the train is on the right track and heading in the right direction, so these 50-odd people can enjoy motorsport and have and make sure they've got an income to go home with to their families for a long time to come. That's basically on my shoulders. If it doesn't happen, then there's no person beside me that I can blame or put the responsibility on. It's ultimately my role. But as I said, I'm a confident person. There's a little bit of arrogance there, but there's a lot of self-belief. I honestly sit here and believe that I can do a good job, you know, and I can represent those people and make sure that that we do have a fantastic team for a long time to come. Huge shoes to fill. Roland has done an unbelievable job. He's lived, breathed motorsport. I'm sure there's plenty of people listening or watching in today that probably don't like Roland for one reason or another. But if you like motorsport and you've enjoyed motorsport for a long time, we owe a lot to that guy.
Yes.
He's been a huge part of making sure we've got a sport and making sure that people like myself have earned a living out of motorsport here in this country, you know. So I've got massive respect. So there's huge shoes to fill. I've worked alongside him. I've watched and analysed his actions and what he's done the last 15 years, even though I wasn't fully focused on being a team manager back 15 years ago when I joined the team. I was still watching and analysing how we dealt with situations. When you're new, of course, I'm going to make mistakes. There's going to be things which I don't do 100% right, but overall, I got massive respect for the people at Triple Eight, and I'll make sure I look after them for a long time to come. And of course, it's a sport. It's a sport, Howie, where we want to bring as many people along the journey as we possibly can. We absolutely respect our opposition. We respect anybody. It's anyone at Supercars, anyone in the media. We are thankful that they're at the track, enjoying our sport and trying to make it this big roller coaster that it is. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. I hope I do a good job, but time will tell. I'm not going to sit here and say what I'm going not to do. But let's just watch this space over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, good luck, mate. And I must say, of all the sports I've been fortunate enough to work on, the athletes and the teams in the last 10 years, it was always a pleasure to, I'd go to 3 or 4 races a year, and people could not have been more friendly and more inviting. In early 2000s, it wasn't always the case. So what you're telling me, if I end up back on a V8 Supercar coverage, I can wander into the garage that you're in charge of and come and have a chat, and I won't get abused or kicked out? I'll be all good?
100%, mate. Welcome. You're welcome all the time.
Good man.
Trying to get your cameras under our wheel arches and show all our IP.
Yes, I know.
But then again, that's our responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. But, mate, you're welcome anytime, you and your whole crew.
Good man. I always finish with the same question, Jamie, and you did touch on it at the start when you spoke to schools, but we're fortunate to have a lot of young people listening to this podcast that want to achieve success in their life. You have achieved a tremendous amount of success to this point, and I'm sure there's a lot more ahead of you, mate. And now, becoming a father, this will be an even more important question for you, but for the youngsters that are listening that want to achieve a bit of success in their life, what advice would Jamie Whincup give them?
Cool. There's obviously plenty, but I can only go, hey, this is part of the book, I've got beliefs and the way I'm going to be a father soon, and I'm going to try to bring my children up on the things that I've experienced and those beliefs that I've gathered through my experiences, So it's there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, But from my experiences, just not focus too far on the end goal. Yeah, you've got to, of course, have a dream, but it's focus what's in front of you. Try to maximise the scenario in front of you. From what I've seen, there's always someone better off. There's always someone worse off in life. And for me, I can be focusing on, hey, I never made it to Formula One. I never made it to an overseas category, but there are dozens and dozens of kids that I raced go-karts with who had probably the same skill as I did that didn't make it to the highest level in Australian motorsport. So you've just got to be grateful with what you've got, try to make the most of every day, and I know it's cliche, but just enjoy your sport. As soon as mum and dad are pushing too hard for son or daughter to develop too quickly, as soon as it's becoming a bit of, the enjoyment's not there, then that's sort of the start of the end. Just love the pure aspect of the sport. Just love the fact that for me, take a car to the track. Before that, we're in the garage. We've got a group of people. We build this car. We take it to the track, and we try to go around in circles quicker than everybody else. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, someone's going to come in the middle. But if you just got to enjoy that basic concept of the sport. And once you lose track of that basic concept, that's the start of the end also. Just love the simple fact of getting a ball, trying to put it in the net, or trying to get it through the sticks, or getting a car and trying to go around a circle quicker than everyone else. Love that basic side of it, and enjoy. Anyone that's involved with sport you've got to be grateful. Sport's one of life's delicacies. It's an amazing thing that we've got. It's been around for a long time. It'll be around forever. It's something that we all can relate to, and just enjoy it for what it is.
It's a great answer, mate. The book is called Drive of a Lifetime. I couldn't recommend it more highly. Long-time fan, Jamie. It's been a treat to have you on the podcast. Stay safe. Best of luck finishing off the season. More importantly, best of luck, everything moving forward as a family. And then good luck with the new job, mate. Thanks for joining me on the show.
No, thank you, Howie. Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate you, all the homework you've done. And, it's awesome interview. Appreciate your time.
Good on you, mate. Stay safe.
Thanks, mate.
There you go. Jamie Whincup, just a good bloke who drives cars really fast. Really fast. The book, once again, is called Drive of a Lifetime. Like Jamie, it is sharp. Do not forget about our Ashes extravaganza starting next Thursday. If old mate Das gets it finished, we are opening the bowling with Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson, I say. Bang! Until then, woohoo! Peace and love.
And we can do it If we try. If we try. If we try.
Listener.